So, hello, guys. Recently, as you know, we've all been having to deal with this pandemic, and we've been having to practice social distancing and staying at home. So, for me personally, I have to walk my dog the same time every day. So, I've seen the gradual decline of people as this pandemic has progressed. First, I see how people have been ignoring everything, going to eventually some people starting to wear the mask, and then we had more people starting to wear the mask, and we've even had it escalate to them closing down parks and going as far as to mandating people wear masks to go to certain places. That is to say, for this podcast, we'll be discussing how us as student leaders have been coping and dealing with the effects of the coronavirus. My name is Michaela Ferraris. I'm the president of John Jay Radio, and here with me today I have.
Hi, all you cool pups and bloodhounds. My name is Sam. I'm Secretary of LGBT and Allies. My pronouns are he, him, his, they, them, theirs. Pleasure to be with you.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the treasurer of Theatrical Players. Next person.
Hi, my name's Celine. I'm the vice president of Theatrical Players.
Name's Kareem. I'm the president of the Economics Club.
And welcome back to our podcast. So, first and foremost, how is everybody doing as of today?
Yeah, pretty good, solid. I feel like at this point it's just become routine. I feel like we're all just used to it by now.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while. It's just another day to me at this point. The only difference is at some point I lost my track of days and time. I know yesterday I was like, today's Sunday, right? And it was like, wait, no, it's not. Yesterday was Wednesday. My days are off.
Me personally, I think I've had a lot more time for creative projects endeavors. So I've been working with a lot of Photoshop, pixel art, things like that. And I also work with SAS. So a lot of us have been doing productivity meetings. So we're doing distance learning, time workshops and things like that. So I've really taken advantage of what we're doing there to kind of affect my own life. So I think I've just been really growing and evolving.
Everything's good on my front. Like Celine said, it became routine at this point.
So
if Sam brings a guinea pig, I'm gonna explode.
All of you had said that you're an executive of the club in some way. So what have you guys been doing with your clubs during this pandemic?
So I guess I'll speak first. So with LGBT and Allies, we've just kind of been doing a lot of activism. I do know trans people are actually having a lot of hard time with this just because a lot of people do binding, and that can really affect your breathing, and that can really affect you during the coronavirus pandemic. So we really need to work on safety precautions and safety measures and getting that information out there. We lost a really big event this semester, which was really big to our student population, which was Queer Prom. So we've been really trying to figure out how we can try to push that event to a winter session. We recently just changed advisors, so we've had to work with that, as well as we're working with elections, which I think the other club executives here can attest to. It's been pretty hectic at Club Bro. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, we both have similar answers. You can go if you
want.
Yeah,
we're the same, so it's fine. You want to go first, or I go first?
You go first.
Just add on to what Sam said about the elections. Yeah, I feel like on our end, anybody else can jump in and agree with me if they wish. We're getting a lot of questions from our members, to which sometimes we feel like, at least for my club, where they have a certain understanding that we know the answers, and I feel like it needs to be known that all the club executives of all the clubs right now, we're all trying to deal with it as best as we can. We have no answers. We don't know how election's going to work. We're all just trying to go about it in our own ways. I was actually extremely impressed with Black Student Union, with BSU, because they posted something on their Instagram about how they're going about elections. They're having people send in 1 minute maximum videos of how they can contribute to the e-board and I guess what they want for the club. And I think that's an excellent idea of how to get people involved and stay active with the club. For us in particular, since we're a theater group, there's really not much we can do from home. We kind of have to be in person, and we have to act. In addition to how Sam said, the LGBT Q and Allies Club had their major event canceled. We do one big production every semester. We do our annual Rocky Horror Picture Show in the fall, and then we do a different musical or play in the spring. And we had an amazing musical planned that was all original. It was written by writers. It was called LGBT and Coffee, and it was going to be amazing. And it had to be canceled. And now we're struggling of what are we going to do virtually? What can we do? I'm currently working on our general meeting, which is taking place next Wednesday. And it's just a struggle of what are we going to do as the theater club. That's like, how do you do acting? How do you do dancing? How do you do singing over Zoom? So it's really frustrating, at least on my end. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, on continuing about that, it is very frustrating because I know personally, not even just our own musical that we're trying to put on, just like we had a lot of things set out for this year particularly, because this was our first semester as executives. We were going to have people graduating, so we're going to have stoles and awards. We're going to set up an award night, and then there was we were supposed to go see another Broadway show, but we were in the works with that because we were confused. Like, it was miscommunication because between the company we were talking to or something like that. But even that, like Celine was saying, like, we're trying to figure out what to do. I believe it was last week or so where we had an event, a Netflix party with the club where we watched Sweeney Todd, and we're just like trying to figure out what to do in order to keep ourselves active. Like, we're still talking with members, we're still talking with the e-board, but it's like we're brainstorming ideas, trying to figure out what we could do. And then it's hard, but it's not even hard like coming up with ideas. It's trying to figure out how to make it work.
Mm-hmm. I think just like advice that I can give to the other clubs in the podcast and people that are watching this is what I suggested to the e-board and what we've set up is we are going to be creating like a Google document of all the people that are going to be running for positions and are going to be rerunning for positions. That way, once Cecil gets note of how elections are going to work for each clubs, we can just move as fast and as swiftly as possible with no stress. We're going to do our own briefing of like what positions have what responsibilities. That way everyone's on the same page. That way the moment we get that information, we can just go fast. And I think it's just so heartbreaking for the seniors that are e-board members who have put their heart and soul into this. And how do you give them stoles? How do you give them the Cecil sashes? Like, how do you do these things? And it's just a loss, a tremendous loss.
Kareem, for
Yes.
your club, what have you been doing?
So, I'm like other clubs in terms we're an academic-based club, so we focus more on the academics of a subject, and I feel academic clubs have been hit the hardest for this pandemic because it's going to be very difficult to find new execs because it's very hard to get students engaged academically compared to recreational or just another type of event. Clubs had plans to recruit people not just into the club, but into the major itself that the club focuses on. And now those plans have been, well, in nice words, kaput. So I feel it's very difficult for us to transition to next year and do club meetings even this year through Zoom. My club are planning to doing Zoom lecturing on the stock market, but I don't even think not even 10 people are going to show up to that because it's very academic and lecture based.
Building off of what Kareem said, LGBT Allies is having the exact same issue. While we are a club that promotes fun, we are an activist club. We're also an academic club. Like, we work with the Women's Center. We work with multiple institutions at John Jay. And the problem is that when you bring up events, even if it seems like something fun, like a Netflix party, the problem is it still comes with the stigma of the school. And right now, CUNY just does not have the best reputation with students. And it's kind of hard as student leaders and executives, whether you're an academic or fun club. I mean, it's more just along the lines of like, we already carry that stigma with us, and now we're fighting a battle on two fronts of trying to keep our members active and also trying to almost in a sense like defend CUNY on a front that maybe some of us are not signing up for. So that's another difficulty that I think Kareem really brings up.
And I know
Not only that,
oh, Kareem, you could go.
I was gonna make a quick comment saying not only that, but I feel it's gonna be very difficult this semester to find new execs, not because of the whole online transition, but because students are gonna be discouraged from running in the first place because we don't even know the faculty, the president does not even know how is the fall gonna happen. We know what's gonna happen for the summer. It's gonna be online, but no one really cares about the summer. But for the fall, that's still a question. We have no confirmed answer that's going to be in person, and
Yeah.
I don't think an exec or soon to be exec is going to want to run for a club later, finding out in the fall, oh, you're just going to do everything online.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna say is like personally, my club, we were already having issues actually having members in our club, seeing as like um our previous exec board, it kind of fell to the wayside and it lost a lot of its members holding. So my club was already struggling trying to bring people in, and this has hit us hard because we've been trying to like readjust to everything. Like it took me a good few while to even bring back up this podcast because I had to get certain things together. So the next thing is you guys mentioned some activities for your clubs. So what activities do you guys have in store or that you're trying to have for your clubs?
So as Eric and I mentioned previously, we are doing our third general meeting next Wednesday on Zoom, and it's going to be at 6:00 just because we do have members who are essential workers, including people in the e-board who are essential workers, and they're out all day. So it just makes more sense to be more respectful to have these events at a later time, and everybody is usually home and relaxing. So we have the third general meeting, and since, like I mentioned, we can't have senior awards night, which was going to be the first one that we've done, because this is the first time that we've had seniors that are graduating. We're going to do a recognition night where everyone comes out. The executives will be doing speeches. Our coordinator, John Salamack, will be present, and he will, I assume, will be doing a speech as well. And just like to reminisce and to have time. We're trying to figure out things that we can do, different movie nights that we can do just to keep things occupied. But mostly like social media. I think that's how everyone has been keeping in contact. The bingos are great. First of all, hats off to Sam for doing that amazing LGBTQ plus bingo. Like it looks so good, and that's why I was like, dude, you gotta send me like the links for this because I gotta do one. That looks amazing. Like, it's just being creative.
Yeah, and with the whole creativity aspect, doing the events is also a good way to not like keep everyone active, but to like distract everyone from what's going on and keep their time occupied. I know me personally, even if it's like, for example, like LGBT did their own bingo, that we did our own bingo. Like even though it took like, for me, it took like 10 seconds, not even, because it was pretty straightforward. But it was still like 10 seconds of my time that was distracted because I sit here a lot of days sitting here like I've watched everything I want to watch. I've read everything I want to read. I don't know what else to do. So it gave me, even if it was a short while, it was a good like release to have something to do to keep my time occupied.
I don't know how Kareem feels, but one of the problems is like, of course, LGBT and allies, we do some things on the social media side, but the problem is we lost a really huge activism thing that we were doing, which is pushing for the first ever LGBT center at John Jay. So the biggest issue has been not knowing where that funding is going, not knowing how to get students involved in that, not knowing where to get those volunteers, and that was a huge blow for all of the petition and the creations that we put timeless amounts of effort into. And now it's hard for us to even come up with events because it's kind of disheartening when you try to make a student population feel welcome. We were working on a queer welcome week, we were working on this LGBT and allies center, we were working for coordinators, we were just pushing and fighting, and now it feels like we've kind of just been silenced. Sure, you can show up to those virtual town halls, but at the end of the day, like, it's different when you're there face to face. So a lot of it, like, we don't really have any events because a lot of LGBT students might be at homes that are abusive and hard, or not even have a home at the moment. So it's kind of hard to be like on social media, like doing some fun things or going to an FX party when you don't even know where you're going to sleep tonight. And that's a scary thought for us. So a lot of it has just been providing support.
So, what my club has, we're trying to plan to do is just a simple stock market lecture through Zoom, speaking on the fundamentals, especially during this time, which potentially, as the news has said, this could be the most profitable time for new investors to go in and try making money off of the, recession. So I feel it's very important to, share the fundamentals and explain terms like futures, options, volatility, etc. But that's all I have on my front. It's been very difficult.
Yeah, I can agree with what Kareem said about it being difficult because for radio, um we already had the slight issue of like trying to plan events because we always wanted to connect it back to the mission of radio and trying to make sure that we get people more interested in what radio and media is. So one of the things that we lost is we were going to do a panel since everyone on my exec board has ties to the Black community. We were going to do a panel about we were having activists come in who advocate for the Black community, and they were like radio media personnel, and they were going to talk about how for instance the main topic was going to be the use of the N-word in their careers, because you see a lot of people in music using words like that, but then it would get blasphemized in other types of media. And we were going to have a panel about that. And we lost that for this semester. So I can definitely sympathize with how it feels to lose a big event. And it's also been hard trying to restructure new events for our club as well to try to get people interacting with us. So, on the topic of club missions, has your club mission changed in any way since the outbreak?
I would say yes. Um, this is a big blow to us, especially considering members. And while I am going to be leaving the next semester, I still want to see the club active, and we're probably going to do a new name and new outlook because getting members is very difficult, especially being academic based. So, and considering what could happen in the fall, we're trying to change the mission statement so we're more broader and not strictly centered on one term.
I agree with Kareem. Same thing with LGBT and Allies. We're going to be rebranding after the semester. We'll be probably changing our name. So we're more focused on the community, while also having allies still involved. But we realize that like there's just been a really difficult, just really kind of just getting the community together. With just activism, we've just lost so much, and now we really need to rebrand and really make sure that students feel safe, because right now we're just getting so much that students are not feeling safe in this environment, and we don't know how to change.
Well, Theatrical Players at this time has no plans on rebranding. I feel like at this point where we stand, I know we definitely must seem a bit privileged at this point because we're not, of course we're impacted, and of course it's not a competition of who is more impacted than the others, but this has not impacted us so severely where we have to change the mission. We are still passionate about the arts and getting people involved, and there are ways that we can do that virtually. It's just not in person. This, I think we just have to remain hopeful while still looking at the facts, but we have to remain hopeful that this is not going to be until like 2022, like, like it's not going to be ongoing where, I mean, if it would be, then obviously we have to discuss that. But at this point, we're hopeful that we will be able to return in the fall or at least the spring. And once we get down to it, we will be ready to go on that stage. We will be ready to do Rocky. That's something that we are bred to do at this point. Every TP member knows Rocky. We know how to do it. We know how to do it well. And we will get back to what we know best. And we will get back to that as soon as possible. But for now, we have there's no word on rebranding. I don't know if Eric wants to step in, but there's no word in.
Yeah, there's hasn't been a single word about rebranding. The mission's pretty much still the same. Um, I just know from my standpoint as treasurer, just because since we're talking about activities and talking about the future and everything like that, just figuring out how we're going to plan for next year in general. Because I know for our club, we plan for the entire year, like during that summer, and then we like nail it down for the second half of the year, still during the fall. But we pretty much have an idea of how the year is going to go. But with not knowing how next year is going to go, it's like Celine said, hopeful that we'll come back in fall or even spring. Hopefully it all ends in summer, in my honest opinion. But trying to figure out where we're going to go from there, it's a little bit difficult simply because we just don't really know much right now as the country in a whole. We're just waiting, and we're just it's just hard trying to figure out what we're going to do for the next year, not knowing how next year's going to plan out in general.
Yeah. I'm just going to jump in real quick and add my 2 cents because I just, I have been involved with this club for as long as Eric and I have been one of the oldest executive board members. So we have a lot to say and we care about this club so much, as I'm sure we all do of our particular clubs. But I think regardless of when we come back, our top concern is making sure that we get down to Rocky. That is something that unites TP on a whole nother level. And we become really unified and it becomes a close-knit community during that time. It is one of my favorite times of year. So regardless of when we come back, that is definitely going to, I speak for the executives as a whole, that is one of the top priorities, is to make sure that like Rocky lives on and that like the tradition lives on. So just
I can definitely sympathize with what you were saying about my club's mission hasn't changed either, especially because since I started this podcast, our mission has been that we wanted to get information across to students and regarding anything that's going on, whether it be in John Jay, in our society, in America, or internationally. I think this might come out wrong, but I feel like this is a time where radio and our podcast is needed more now than ever
yeah,
to get
absolutely.
this information across and to get people still involved in not only what my club stands for, but in everything that's going on. Because I know a lot of people who are struggling a lot right now because they feel so lost and disconnected from everything.
I will say something. This
Say
could
something, Kareem.
this I wanted to say two things. One to lighten the mood, and one that is very serious. This could be a blessing towards certain clubs because after this period, let's say everything resumes in the fall, like everyone goes in person, everything's chill. We're gonna see a lot more students become active with clubs, I feel, during the fall.
Yeah.
This social distancing, humans, I don't know if anyone knows this, but it is part of a theory. It's already been proven. Humans cannot be socially distanced. They can't be alone. They need others. They need to interact. Interacting is one of our key elements, and art. But also, but not only, and shoot, I don't know what I was going to say. But yeah, this could be a blessing because it could increase membership if everything resumes back in the fall or the spring.
I think that particularly resigns a lot with LGBTQ and allies. I think once this, once we are all able to reunite, there are a lot of people who are going to need that safe space. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to need to talk about things that they went through and, define their community again in person. There's only but so much you can do virtually. So I do agree that it can be a bit of a blessing in disguise. But, yeah.
And the one thing to lighten the mood, I'm very sad, half because of the club, but because I had so much food budget potential.
Yes.
I had
Yeah.
food budget potential. So much. I was going to order the good stuff.
Yeah, I
All that
would
pizza,
kill for a
gone.
Justino's chicken wing right now. You have no idea.
All those Justina orders, man. Gone.
Yeah, dude, you don't understand how much I miss the MBJ salads right now.
Okay, wait. When you had Justino's pizza and you ordered the wings and they had the sauces and you dipped your pizza in that hot sauce, godsend. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, man.
with all the social distancing, I actually miss the MBJ lunch specials.
Yes,
The
like
lunch specials.
the lunch specials, that was good.
I just want to get one of the cheeseburgers.
Yo, yeah,
no,
with the
a
soda.
nasty bun? No.
Hell yeah, that cool.
You just want to, you'll even get the chicken. You're like, I want some of the chicken.
Yo, fact. The chicken's not that great.
That's not it. That's not it.
That's not
I
it.
just miss, like, honest to God, like, getting back to a more somber mood. I just miss commuting. Like, as much as I hated going on the train and as much as, like, I hated it, there was just something that there was a certain, there was like, like there was a certain like essence to it that I just miss so much.
I miss being in the club rooms and just like knocking on doors,
Yeah.
bothering someone, and just hanging out. That's what
I miss saying good morning to like Nikki and Hing and Nikita every morning. I would just walk in, she's like, morning.
I just miss being able to like go to school. You forget you're at homework. And you're like, oh my god, I gotta do it like the last minute. Now I have all this time. I'm like, I can't even do this. Like it was exhilarating. I don't know why.
John's office though.
I just miss John.
I miss John. I miss John like so much.
So you guys kind of cut into my last question anyway. I was gonna ask, what do you miss most? Going to Conte and Club Row. So thanks for that.
I'm not even gonna lie, guys. On the SAS note, I miss you guys because when you guys had extra food left over, you'd be like, give it to public safety and SAS, and we were in the back like, oh, we're not having paid lunch today. I was always hoping like, oh, who has an event today? Because that food's definitely coming our
No,
way.
I loved coming back from my event because there'd always be like extra food left over. I remember one time it came like this huge tray of chicken.
Oh my god.
I remember everyone came like, can we get some chicken? I was like, you get one piece. And they're like, why are we only getting one piece? Because the other pieces are for me. You get one piece.
I didn't realize Eric was being stingy with TP's food. I apologize.
For those watching who may not be familiar, Cecil Club Row gives a lot of free food during community hour.
Oh yeah, we didn't.
Where you'll just see a whole tray and then it'll be placed at the front, and then everyone leaves their rooms and congregates like it's a watering hole.
It's like mystery because some days you'll get pizza. I remember one day they had tacos, and I was so surprised. I was like, they had tacos?
Yeah.
So
Let me tell you guys a funny story real quick.
God.
Let me tell you guys a funny story about how some club had an event. I don't remember which club it was, and this is really bad of me. But they had like 4 boxes of pizza, right?
I feel like that's us.
That's probably us.
I feel like it's gonna be TP.
So I'm with my wellness center girls because I work at the wellness center, right? I snag a whole box. I just take a whole box and bring it
was
up to the
definitely
wellness
not us,
center.
I would have stopped you.
Bro,
Right
Adelante at SAS had an ice cream social of Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
yeah.
Oh, I remember that. So much ice cream.
Like as we prepare for whenever we return and we prepare for the abundance of food ordered, guys, please, if you're gonna have an ice cream event, can you provide some lactose-free options, please? Because I have never been able to take part in those, and they make me so sad.
We're gonna bring like the lactate pills.
Yes, like I'm gonna bring the lactate
glass and freeze it, and then give it to her. Just frozen lactate to her. Just put like some syrup
oh my god, this is
Speaking of milk, the one thing I'm gonna do when I see John, I'm putting cold milk with ice in it. I'm bringing it to him.
You know what we need to do? We need to have like that shaved ice for Celine.
And it's just milk. It's just lactate-free milk.
The Spanish guy with the shaved ice, and he puts the syrup.
Oh,
yes.
That piraguas. Right?
Piragua, yeah. I was like,
I don't know the word.
I'm gonna take this time now, and we're gonna wrap up. I want to thank you guys for all joining me today, and hopefully I'll be doing another podcast next week. I'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.